Sitaram Devrai Institute of Management Studies.
This call is now being recorded.
Affiliated to SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. I, Dr. Anita Jacob, welcome you all to the 11th day of the National Webinar Series on National Education Policy 2020, Prospects and Challenges in Higher Education. The theme of today's webinar is a roadmap for transforming higher education. This is organized by the Department of Commerce in association with Internal Quality Assurance Cell of our college. We are honored to have the presence of our distinguished members of Marwadi Sammelan here with us in this webinar. Their constant guidance and continual support has always been a great source of encouragement to the institution. We welcome the President of Marwadi Sammelan, Advocate Shri Sushil Vyasji, Honorable Secretary of Marwadi Sammelan, Shri Suresh Devraji, Trustee of Marwadi Sammelan and Convener of B.M. Ruya Girls College, Shri Shrikant Dalmiaji, Convener of Sitaram Devrai Institute of Management Studies, Shri Vijay Singalji, and other respected members present here in our midst this morning. This morning, we take pride at mentioning that our President of Marwadi Sammelan, Advocate Shri Sushil Vyasji, has been unanimously elected as the National President of AIMO for the next 2-year term, which was shared across in the virtual meeting of AIMO NGC today. So congratulations, sir, from the Principal Dr. Santosh Kaul ma'am, all the teaching and non-teaching staff and students, alumni of B.M. Ruya Girls College and Sitaram Devrai Institute of Management Studies. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
We are honored to have the presence of our eminent speakers and resource person for today's webinar, respected Dr. M.U. Kharat, Professor and Head Computer Engineering Department, MET's Institute of Engineering, Nashik, Maharashtra, and Dr. Vijay Joshi, Chief Consultant, RUSA, Government of Maharashtra. We welcome our esteemed dignitaries and look forward to hearing from them. We extend our warm welcome to respected principals, professors, coordinators, faculty members, researchers, students, and all our virtual national and international participants who have joined us via Google Meet and YouTube Live from different colleges and universities. We take this moment to also welcome the teaching, non-teaching staff, students, alumni of our college. We welcome the head of our institution, Dr. Santosh Kaul Kak Madam, whose vision and insight have been an impetus to us being proactive in conducting these national webinar series. We affirm her leadership and motivation in shaping the values and ideals of our institution in these trying times. And now, as per the college tradition, we will make an auspicious beginning of this webinar with a college prayer.
या कुंदेन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरंदितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शंकर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तू ही राम है तू रहीम है तू करीम कृष्ण खुदा हुआ तू ही वाहे गुरु तू ही शमसी, हर नाम में तू समा रहा। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
The prayer was offered by Srimati Shruti Ranade Madam, Associate Professor in Psychology, Counselor of College Counseling Cell, Mantrana, and the teacher in charge of our Cultural Committee of our institution. Thank you, Madam. Our college is affiliated with SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. I now request all of us to arise as we play the song of our university. Thank you, everyone. Here are a few instructions we would like to share with you for the smooth conduct of today's webinar. Requesting all participants to be on mute unless required and kindly avoid switching on your videos. We would like you to post your questions from today's session on the chat box of Google Meet or YouTube comment section. Please do mention the name of the resource person to whom you are addressing the question. Feedback link will be available for your access towards the end of the webinar. You will find it posted in the chat box of both Google Meet and YouTube. The theme for today's webinar is National Education Policy 2020, Prospects and Challenges in Higher Education, a Roadmap for Transforming Higher Education. The National Education Policy 2020 envisages far-reaching transformation for our existing education system. It is genuinely a significant stride towards making our education system meaningful, assimilative, and skill-centric. As educators, we all look forward with an open and optimistic mindset to accept these much desired changes in our education system. We are hopeful that implementing this highly anticipated policy will establish a new world of learning for our coming generations. In a country like ours, a single umbrella body was always required to have uniformity in educational standards. However, multiple independent governing bodies led to many standardization issues across institutions. And along with that, any improvement plan to be implemented in this higher education domain took years. If the proposed plan is implemented, uniformity and coordination for all institutions in India will be much easier. The second vertical of HECI will be an accrediting body called the National Accreditation Council, NAC. Accreditation of institutions will be based primarily on basic norms, public self-disclosure, good governance, and outcome. It will be carried out by an independent ecosystem of accrediting institutions supervised and overseen by NEC. The policy has come at the right time and the objective is very noble. But there lies a world of difference between laying down a policy on paper and following it in spirit. The mission is aspirational, but the implementation roadmap will decide if this genuinely will foster an all-inclusive education that makes learners industry and future ready. To deliberate on these issues and bring more clarity and insight to the policy, we have two eminent speakers who will present their views in today's webinar. As we proceed with our session, I would like to invite Dr. Nurusia Kazi, IQAC coordinator and head of the Department of Commerce of our college, to introduce our distinguished resource person, respected Dr. M.U. Kharat, Professor and Head of Computer Engineering Department, MET Institute of Engineering, Nashik, Maharashtra. He'll be our resource person for the first session of today's webinar. Over to you, Nurusia ma'am.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to all. It's my privilege to introduce today's eminent resource person, Professor Dr. M.U. Kharat, sir, Professor and Head, Computer Engineering Department, MET's Institute of Engineering, Bhujbal Knowledge City, Nashik, Maharashtra. Sir has over 20 years teaching experience and 2 years industry experience. Sir has a vast experience in research. He has successfully guided 7 PhD and 35 ME and MTech students. Sir has published numerous research papers, 12 at national and more than 80 papers at international level in countries like US, Germany, Canada, China, Singapore, and many more. Sir has also presented at international conference in Japan. Sir has published books on relevant subjects by reputed international publishers. Dr. Kharat, sir, has patent publication to his credit on optimal resource management strategies, a virtual machine migration perspective in 2018. Sir is presently working on 3 industry and government consultancy projects. Sir has received award from institutions of engineers. He has received more than 10 lakhs grant for research activities and actively interacted with professional institutions like CSI, IEEE, IE, and many more. Sir has many notable accomplishments. He has successfully completed the process of NBA of UG and PG programs. He represented Sant Garge Baba Amravati University at Anti-Ragging Raghavan Commission in 1997-98. Sir is the nodal center in charge for Amrita Virtual Labs, Amrita University, Kerala since 2012 under the National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technology, a flagship initiative of the MHRD project. Sir has received recognition from Computer Society of India, Regional Students Coordinator, Region 6, Maharashtra and Goa in 2016-17 and 2018-19. Dr. Kharat sir has been member Board of Studies and Faculty of Engineering, Savitribai Phule, Pune University in 2014 to 2015. Sir is a member Board of Studies of IT in Government College of Engineering, Kharat, Maharashtra, Savitribai Phule University, Kavitri Bainabi Chaudhary, NMU Jalgaon since 2015-16. Sir has also designed and conducted workshops, faculty development programs, short-term training programs in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Andhra Pradesh. We are indeed very fortunate to have such an eminent resource person to guide us. Sir, we welcome you to share your insights with the participants.
Thank you,
Welcome
madam.
you, sir. Welcome
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam. Okay. So first of all, good morning to everybody, all participants of this particular national webinar series on NEP 2020. At the outset, I am very much thankful to the President, Shri Vyasji, Trustees, Shri Devaraji Dalmiyaji, Shri Vijay Singhal, Principal, Dr. Kaul Ma'am, organizers of this particular NEP program, that they have invited me for this particular session on NEP and prospectus and challenges in higher education. Specifically, I have been given the opportunity to talk on the transformation in accreditation, transformation of the policies, transformation of the aspects of National Education Policy 2020 at different levels, how those can be transformed to into the accreditation system, and what should be the approach of institutions, faculties of looking towards this National Education Policy. As this is the 11th day, I suppose, of this particular series, so all of you are well aware of the National Education Policy, its insights, and how it plays the role in the development of manpower, development of human resources in the country, so that our proud country can be converted, can be marching from the developing country to the developed one. And for this, higher education is playing very vital and very significant role. As we know that the education is not only meant for passing out or the imparting some knowledge, but now the scenario has changed. Whatever knowledge we are imparting, that knowledge is to be converted into the application form, which will be accountable towards certain achievements, towards certain accomplishments. And looking towards these particular aspects, I suppose this education policy is helping out all of us as an educationist, as a part and parcel of some institutions, some universities, or the education policies. In this particular scenario, the quality of higher education must enable personal accomplishment and enlightenment, constructive public engagement, and productive contribution to the society. See, as I discussed with many of the eminent personalities in this field, that how the contribution can be extended to the society, which is definitely the outcome of education system. Because nowadays, in whatever system we are running, we are working with, there are hardly any accountabilities towards the contribution towards society of the education systems. Fortunately, looking towards this aspect, this new NEP has certain aspects involved in it, which are having certain accountabilities, which are having certain aspects towards the contribution and productive contributions to the society, which is expected by the NEP from universities, from institutions. And it must prepare the students for the meaningful and satisfying lives and work roles and enable economic independence. So ultimately, when we talk about the outcome and the contribution to the society, it should be supported with the economic independence for an individual. Then only with this economic independence, we can say that we can think of that we are getting developed one, and we will be competing with the already developed countries all over the world. For the purpose of developing holistic individuals, it is essential that an identified set of skills and values will be incorporated at each stage of learning from preschool to the higher education. And this specific care is taken in this NEP. This National Education Policy is taking care of the development, skill development, ethical values, holistic approach for every individual as a part and parcel of the system, and it is being planned from the preschooling to the higher education. Now, what will be the role of higher education, or what higher educational institutions are expected to work as? Higher education must form the basis for knowledge creation and innovation, thereby contributing to a growing national economy. They have to be ready to generate, to impart the knowledge in the form of certain base, because based on the base which will be generated among the youth of the nation, there can be certain verticals which will contribute to the development of the country. Now, these verticals I will be addressing in the coming slides, what different verticals are expected according to this NEP, and then further how accreditation can be taken care of using all these aspects, using all these parameters. That is what the purpose of quality higher education is, more than the creation of greater opportunities for individual employment. So this is very basic, that it is expected to go beyond the opportunities of employment, beyond the opportunities of getting services, getting something as a base for livelihood. Apart from that, something more is expected from this NEP. It represents the key to more vibrant, socially engaged, cooperative communities and happier, cohesive, cultured, productive, innovative, progressive, and prosperous nation. Now see here, there are many adjectives involved, there are many parameters involved in this statement. Right from vibrant, socially engaged, cooperative communities, happier, cohesive, cultured, productive, innovative, progressive, and prosperous nation. Now, as per the accreditation policies, each one of these aspects is expected to be accountable, and it is expected that assessment on these particular aspects can be there in the upcoming accreditation systems. This is what we can predict. These are not the ultimate available as on date, but we can predict that there can be accountabilities on these aspects when we talk about the accreditation system for our higher educational institutions. Now, to go with this particular, to go ahead with this specific, we should first of all go for the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and challenges available with us, out of which what are the different problems, different challenges that are there in the existing system that we are working with. I have listed out some of them and I have referred the national education policy to narrate all this, and slowly we'll be addressing all this in the upcoming slides. A severely fragmented higher educational ecosystem. Yes, we are now following the educational system as an ecosystem, but it is very severely fragmented. It is, you can say, a group-wise, arts, commerce, science, engineering, home science, many other like this, they are catered in the education system with their individual gatherings, with their individual packets. And there is the major hurdle that we are finding as a hurdle for development, hurdle for the exact ecosystem which is expected from the which is expected as outcome of higher educational institutions. Another aspect, another problem we are facing is less emphasis on the development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes. Hardly in recent years we are talking about the learning outcomes. Earlier we were not having such kind of systems. Even then we have not thought of having cognitive skill development. But recently the scenario is changing and we are focusing on these aspects. And though these aspects are available in our education system nowadays, but those are with very less emphasis. We have to look forward for getting these aspects of cognitive skill development and learning outcomes with more severity, with more concentration. Another problem is a rigid separation of disciplines with early specialization and streaming of students into narrow areas of the studies. Yes, this is very unfortunate part that we are very narrowly focusing the system towards the students, and we are focusing that yes, students should follow this way. Yes, you are, if you are the commerce student, you should follow these subjects. There are these 35 subjects. As a student, you have to focus only on this. And ultimately, when that commerce student is coming as an outcome of the institute, and he is given opportunity to work in the production-based industry, let us say industry of vehicle manufacturing, wherein he is not having any knowledge of any manufacturing processes during his career of the education for 3 years of completion of degrees. And he has to work, he has to contribute with the measurable outcome in the production industry. So these are the certain gaps. Such kind of gaps are to be addressed and are to be streamlined for having these rigid separation of the disciplines removed from our systems.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now this rigidity of the various disciplines is to be removed from the system, and that is the responsibility of we all as a faculty, as an institute, as a university, to take care of this removal of rigidity with the separation of the disciplines. Then there comes the limited access, particularly in the socio-economically disadvantaged areas with few higher educational institutions that teach in local languages. So this is another hurdle. This hurdle is depending on the locality, community and their requirements. But though at the time of going with such approach was the need of that specific locality of that particular area. But nowadays that is becoming hurdle. So limited access particularly is to be made a wider one, and that wide availability, that wide accessibility will help out in marching towards with the positive direction in the socio-economically areas wherein we are lagging as on date. Then limited teacher and institutional autonomy. This is one of the important aspects that every institution must be developed in such a way that their teachers, their faculties, and the departments and the institute as a whole, they should adopt the autonomy. Now, at this moment, this autonomy is only for mentioned as a academic autonomy. So when we talk about the institutional academic autonomy, our teachers should be that strong enough that they should be having that type of expertise in that particular specific domain, in that specific subject, and then only we can talk about the autonomy. Now, with this particular, there are very limited teachers available in every institution. Now, that limitation on the number of teachers is a major concern, and it is one of the problems in the higher educational institutions. Madam, next please. Then, inadequate mechanisms for the merit-based career management and progression of faculty and institutional leaders. Yes, this is another aspect which is having some relation with the managerial economy, which is having certain relations with the freedom to the faculties, freedom to the institutional leaders to work with. Freedom to the institutional leaders is not only the freedom related to the development of the institute, but that freedom is the number of authorities, number of agencies with which the institutional leaders are supposed to deal. Nowadays, we are having certain regulatory authorities from different corners, from different aspects, from the different state government, national government, and we are getting our time wasted, rather not invested in doing those activities. So we want, ultimately, I have mentioned in some other slide that we want the light culture, but it can be very tight. I'll be emphasizing on that. There is some another aspect that lesser emphasis on the research at most universities and colleges and lack of competitive peer-reviewed research funding across disciplines. This is one of the important hurdles, and hope that through this upcoming national educational policy, these hurdles about the financial support for the research will be available with great aspects of reviewing the things, of reviewing the research, implementing those research as a product, and then further having that research as a base for the upcoming batches of that institute. And that is possible only when there are certain quality fundings available across various disciplines. This is not the merely, you can say, monopoly or the proprietary of specific disciplines. It should be across all disciplines of the educational systems. Then suboptimal governance and leadership of higher educational institutions. Yes, all institutional management, all institutional leaderships and their governance, they are optimal at their places. But when we compare those leaderships, those aspects of the development at the nation level or at the international platform, then we come to know that yes, there are huge gaps in the governance and leaderships of higher educational institutions. So that is to be removed. That is becoming one of the hurdles. Unless we are not removing the governance and leadership of higher educational institutions with the supportive environment provided by the various authorities, by providing some funding, by providing certain infrastructure, by providing certain faculty sharing type of or sharing resources type of aspects, it is hardly possible for all of us as a faculty, as an institution to go ahead with this particular aspect. And this kind of suboptimal governance nowadays is also becoming one of the problems with higher educational institutions. An effective regulatory system is another hurdle. Ineffective regulatory systems. See, we are doing one process for different authorities in one academic year, and that is again with the repetition type of things. And to avoid this, we have to take care that, yes, there should be only one single window type of regulatory system available for us, so that our focus can be given more to the students, to the faculty development, to the institute development, than working only for the regulatory systems. Then large affiliating universities resulting in low standards and providing low standard undergraduate education. This is very big problem. See, many universities, almost all universities, not many, but almost all universities of the state and the country as well, they are having large number of affiliating institutions with them. And they are trying to govern them. Sorry to say, but nowadays, university systems have become only the examination systems. Very few universities are providing such kind of backbone, such kind of background for all of us to march towards the quality education. Rather, we are just working for the regulations, for the rules, and for without any specific accountabilities, which is governing the education system in the benefit of the students. Ultimately, we have to be very accountable towards what outcome our students are carrying when they are passing out from the institutions. That is very important. Then only we can talk about the ecosystem. Next slide, madam, please. Now, this is up to this particular background we have discussed. It was related to the problems associated with the higher educations and what NEP is expecting from us. Now, based on these NEP expectations and these, to understand the national education policy briefly towards the accreditation. This particular aspect is included in this presentation because whatever accreditation systems today we are following, those are with certain criteria based, and hardly with these particular aspects of the NEP, there will be such existence of this today's system availability. Because see, everything is going to change over the span of upcoming 15 to 20 years, and we have to take care of that. And that is with the, again, quality type of education system with accountabilities. Now, these two aspects, quality and accountability, will be there as a part of accreditation systems that I suppose, that I predict. Now, moving towards the higher educational system consisting of large multidisciplinary universities and colleges with at least one in or near every district. It means that, see, we are expecting, what NEP is expecting, that there should be certain multidisciplinary universities, multidisciplinary colleges available in the entire state, entire nation, at least one in every district, so that proper platform can be provided to the students who will be learning the multidisciplinary aspects of the educational system, and they will be ready to work with the multidisciplinary outcome-based systems. Just I have quoted the example of, suppose, yes, BCom student has to work with the manufacturing industry. What platform, what interface is to be given to him during his educational career. of 3 years. That our education system, our syllabus structure need to take care of this. Likewise, we are supposed to adopt high-level multidisciplinary systems in our universities, in our colleges. Then moving towards more multidisciplinary undergraduate education, moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy. Say, if I am a professor of computer engineering and during my teaching learning processes, while designing the syllabus, if I come to know that the financial aspects of computational facilities is playing major role when we deploy any of the projects. So those financial aspects related things I must teach to my students. So I should be in a position to adopt such a system which will be having certain finance related aspects in the computational system, wherein I am giving the education to the students through this platform. So likewise, such kind of autonomy must be there available with the faculty and institutions. And that autonomy is to be further accredited, is to be further assessed for its accreditation through accountabilities. Then revamping, and it is possible only when we adopt the revamping of the curriculum, pedagogy, assessment methodologies, and student support for enhanced students' experiences. How we can give more kind of experiences to the students through such kind of systems. That is possible only when we revamp it as proper. We evaluate it in a very proper way, based on not only theoretical practical knowledge, but along with that, what field experience we are giving to the students. Based on that also, the individual autonomy can be strengthened. And then we can talk about the quality of that enhanced system, and then further we can think of its accreditation. Then reaffirming the integrity of faculty and institutional leadership positions through merit appointments and career progression based on teaching, research, and service. See, nowadays, at the most, we are inviting the industry personalities, industry experts for passing out some inputs to the students as a resource person for some program. But can we think of that if suppose some industry person is coming to our institute and passing out some good knowledge as a one course, as a one subject to the students in the entire span of, let us say, 3 years degree course or 4 years degree course, which is very much needed to those students, and this is beyond the curriculum. Can we think of such kind of system available today? It is hardly, there are few initiatives on this particular line available in very few institutions. But if this is becoming a system for all institutions, then only we can talk about the development of the country, development of the system, development of the individual student with its outcome. Please, madam, next slide. The establishment of National Research Foundation to fund outstanding peer-reviewed research and to actively seed research in the universities and colleges. Now, here comes the financial aspects needed, rather I must say that very much needed for the academic institutions, for the universities. What sort of fundings are available to the research, maybe in the form of research funding, project funding, or even seed amount of seed money. Nowadays, our NEP system has adopted such kind of criteria, that is, what is the seed money amount available to the faculties in the institutions for research work. So slowly we are changing and we are coming out of our traditional systems and marching towards the NEP. So NEP is not something else that is coming newly and being, you can say, imparted upon all of us. It's not like that. It is the continuous progression in the existing system, but now that continuous progression is there with certain assessment, with certain accountabilities, with certain outcomes. Then governance of higher educational institutions by highly qualified independent boards having academic and administrative autonomy. So as for the autonomous systems, beyond the academic autonomy, there must be certain administrative autonomy as well available with the universities and with the institutions, so that they can take their own decisions in the benefit of the students, in the benefit of the faculty, in the benefit of institute, and proceed further with a quality. Yes, we want light but tight regulation by a single regulatory or higher education system. Only single window system we want. That can be very tight, but it should be light. It should not be the burden upon the institution. See, I am also working with certain various regulatory bodies. I am particularly observing very high level repetition of the information being asked by number of authorities for number of times, and that too for the available data with them. So what exactly the faculties and the institutions are doing? If we go with the reverse engineering approach, nowadays, instead of becoming a professor with a good quality teaching aspect, he or she is becoming a professor with how he or she is dealing with the administrative authorities, with the regulatory authorities. So this is not expected. Of course, this is must part. This part is must there with the institution as a binding. Otherwise, institution will go here and there. But this binding should be there with certain lightweight type of things and not having such much type of consumption of the time in that particular type of work. Then only the person who is a professor, see, normally many of participants are professor or principals over there. Interaction with such kind of regulatory authorities or the responsibilities of complying with those authorities is given to the professors. Whereas it is expected that the professor should get involved in the development of certain projects, in certain research work, in certain patenting things, patenting of certain research, so that will contribute to the students, to the faculty, to the institute, to the state and to the nation. Rather, in the reverse way, we are having certain other kind of culture nowadays, and the things are binding more and more, becoming more and more binding upon all of us. So we want, yes, it is to be there, but with very light but tight. And this is very proper wording used by the NEP in its manual. Increase access, quality and inclusion through the range of measures, including greater opportunities for outstanding public education, scholarships by private philanthropic universities for disadvantages and underprivileged students. So whatever, see, we cannot keep some part of the community aside. When we want our country to be developed one, we have to take those part, those underprivileged, those disadvantaged communities, those disadvantaged factors of the society with us for their development. Then only we can think of that, yes, this national education policy will be having certain good output, good outcome in 2035, 2040. Then online education may be with the open distance learning should be the open platform available for all of us. Then all infrastructure and learning materials accessible and should be available to the learners with disabilities according to their disability category. It should be available. And all these aspects are taken care of the accreditation assessment authorities nowadays, and they are making us as the institution, university accountable for all this. Please, madam, next slide. Now, with these particular aspects of what NEP is, what are the hurdles, what are the different parameters that we are supposed to address when we go for the accreditation, when we go for the quality education. Now, we can talk about the exact focus of this today's class, today's session, that accreditation. With the appropriate accreditation, autonomous degree training colleges could evolve into the research intensive or training intensive universities. We have to be there with the research intensive or the training intensive universities, training intensive colleges. Because whatever bases are being formed through this NEP over the period of 20 years, with the strong base, verticals available for the research avenues are to be incorporated by the universities, by the institutions, and based on that only we can talk further about their accreditation. Higher education institutions will have the autonomy and freedom to move gradually from one category to another category based on their plans, actions, and effectiveness. This is what the freedom being provided by the NEP for all of us in this coming system. We can, but of course, it is after autonomy, after achieving the autonomy for our systems. We can march towards the goals of NEP and based on our plans, action, and we can go after their plan and actions for assessment of the effectiveness of our system. The most salient maker of these categories of the institutions will be the quality focus of their goals and works. This particular last statement, this indicates that how are we marching towards the quality education, which will be the further part of accreditation systems that may be further implemented by the government for all of us as an institution and as a university. Madam, please, for next slide. The upcoming accreditation systems will develop and use appropriately different and relevant norms across this range of higher educational institutions. Now just see here, whatever we have discussed till now, with this discussion, with the different verticals that we have tried to cover in this particular session, what can be the assessment methodologies? How the assessment will enable us to maintain the quality of education with such kind of multidisciplinary environment, with such kind of interdisciplinary environment in the institutions. It means that this accreditation system are to be further revamped, further they will be coming up further with different aspects which will be involving these aspects of national education policy, and then further those will be measured based on the expected outcome that I have discussed in the second slide. The expectations of high quality education and of teaching learning across all higher educational institutions will be the same and flat but accountable. Yes, it is expected that all academic institutions should work as a flat system. Then only we can compare the outcome of one institution with the other institutions. And for that, it is expected that the higher educational institutions will be having some same and the flat structure, but it should be accountable. It should be measurable with certain accountability. In addition to the teaching and research, higher education, higher education institutions will have other crucial responsibilities which they will discharge through appropriate resourcing, incentives and structures. Yes, appropriate resourcing of the available resources, incentives and the structures which will be working as a backbone of the upcoming society, upcoming youth, that will be that is expected from the upcoming NEP, and that will be the major part of accreditation system, that I suppose, because unless those are not accountable, those are not considered for the accreditation, hardly some outcome will be measured on the desired parameters of the accreditation. These include supporting other higher educational institutions in their development, community engagement and service, contribution to various fields of practice, faculty development for the higher education system and support to the school education. Yes, this is the link established between the higher educational systems and the school education system. I have observed, I am closely in contact with many of the parents that they say there is no relation of the education that students are getting at the 10th and at the 12th. You might have also heard these kind of things, these kind of statements while dealing with the parents. They say that there is no relation of the 10th syllabus and the 12th syllabus. It means that somehow, somewhere, we are failing to pass on the relationship between the syllabus available at those two different levels. Of course, without relation, those are not there. But it is our failure that we could not pass on. And how, in what way, in what effective way we will be passing on it to the students, to the community, to the society, to the parents, to the all stakeholders. It will be further accountable and it will be considered as a major part of the outcome-based system. Next slide, madam, please. Now, by 2040, all higher educational institutions shall aim to become multidisciplinary institutions.
Jyotika, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
This is very important aspect that by 2040, we all are expected to become very multidisciplinary institutions. In some of the interactions, last time in some presentation, some question was asked to me, sir, what will happen with the arts and commerce faculties in this particular new educational policies? So I very proudly tell that where have you found that these new educational policy and its systems are not having any kind of contribution expectation from arts and commerce. Rather, arts and commerce, these kind of education, science, even engineering nowadays, these will become a base for higher education. All these aspects will become a base of higher education. Let us consider the arts faculties, which will be further taken to the liberal arts, and liberal arts will be taken further to technology available in the development of the liberal arts. So this kind of linkages are to be taken care of by all of us as the educational system. That is what is expected as a multidisciplinary institution, multidisciplinary universities from all of us. All higher educational institutions will firstly plan to become multidisciplinary by 2030. This is what expected by the NEP. And then gradually they will increase the number of student strength with the desired levels. So first of all, it is expected that in the coming 8 to 10 years, we should become a multidisciplinary renowned, rather, we should become a renowned multidisciplinary institutions in the specific, in our region. And then with that multidisciplinary aspects, based on the outcome, based on the contribution of our students after their graduation, how they are contributing to the society, slowly entire society will be attracted towards this kind of multidisciplinary education, and then only we can get the more and more strength to the desired level of our multidisciplinary education system. More higher educational institutions shall be established to develop in underserved regions to ensure full access, quality, and in its inclusion. See, more higher educational institutions are expected to reach to the remote part of the country, remote part of those regions as well. And fortunately, many universities, authorities like RUSA, authorities like higher education, they have taken interest and they have started establishing the model colleges. Those are working in the remote part of the specific region. And now it is expected that such kind of institutions should become multidisciplinary institutions with their accountabilities, and then further attract more number of students in that particular discipline, in that particular area, so that with that multidisciplinary aspects, some measurable outcome can be there, which will be the part of our accreditation system. There shall by 2030 be at least one large multidisciplinary institute or university in every state, every district. It is expected that there should be some large multidisciplinary higher education institutions in every district by 2030. And already through the example of model colleges, we can say that something is already started in this direction. But now responsibility of all of us is to make it as a multidisciplinary renowned institutions with the quality-based outcome. Again, this is what expected from the NEP, that from 26.3%, how to reach to 50% minimum 50% by 2035. Which in the upcoming 13 to 14 years, we have to march in this direction so that our exact outcome of the enrollment ratio of higher education with the vocational education will reach to this 50%. Just to quote some example of vocational education, Tata Institute of Social Sciences has already started with certain vocational courses. Likewise, every university has started nowadays with the vocational courses through the minor and major type of courses available to the students. Even one specific discipline student can adopt the certain courses as a major courses in their curriculum, learn those major courses as a major course as a part, as a contribution to their degree, and then they can be getting the degree with honors type of degree courses. This kind of system we have already adopted, and many universities are working on this. But now further, it should be the part of all institutions. It is expected it should be the part of all institutions with the more and more flourishing activities, more and more involvement of the students and faculty. Growth will be in both public and private institutions, it is expected, with a strong emphasis on developing a large number of outstanding public institutions. Yes, we want very outstanding public institutions, though there is a private institution also playing some major role, but private and public institutions should be measured on the same platform, on the same parameters for all types of resource sharing, with all type of sharing of the resources available with the authorities available with that particular region. There will be a fair and transparent system for determining the increased level of public funding support for public higher educational institutions. Yes, madam, please. Next. Development of all public institutions will be based on transparent, pre-announced criteria from within the accreditation norms of the accreditation systems. See, there should be certain pre-announced criteria. Yes, nowadays also we are working with the pre-announced criteria as per the manuals of the accreditation authorities, accreditation bodies. We are trying to match those criteria as per our activities being held in the institution. But these pre-announced criteria, as we are talking about the multidisciplinary institutions, there must be certain opportunities for the institutions as well that they should announce their pre-assessment criteria. Because suppose I have got certain MOUs with the manufacturing industry, being the science college. So what assessment methodologies is defined by the assessment council that should be applicable to me as well. How it will become as an existent part of the system? Because I want involvement of manufacturing institute in the science 3-year degree course, and I want to get it assessed by the accreditation council. So there must be some scope for me as well to announce my assessment criteria, my assessment parameters. See, unfortunately, or you can say maybe because of the certain restrictions as on date, whatever accreditation criteria are there, all those are available for all disciplines. While interacting as a fortunate part of the RUSA software project, while interacting with various institutions, I am facing this problem. Some institutions are engineering institutions, some institutions are medical institutions, some institutions are art, commerce, science institutions, some are architecture institutions. But all those institutions are being measured on the similar criteria, on the same criteria of the assessment. Rather, there should be certain scope for them to provide their inputs for the assessments as per their respective activities. Though ultimately as an educational system, we are having this as a binding for all of us as on date. But this is my personal opinion. There can be, this is my personal opinion, please note, there can be different pre-announcement criteria available to the institutions so that their assessment will be very fruitful for them and they can be measured with the certain parameters as the outcome. Their students' outcome will be measured on that particular basis. There should not be certain such kind of common things. Higher education institutions delivering the education of high quality as laid down in the National Policy 2020 will be insensitized in expanding the capacities of the institutions. So we are supposed to expand our capacities. See, on this particular aspect, there are many things that I wanted to discuss, but because of the time limits, I will try to skip out all this. One important slide, some important slide that I wanted to discuss in this presentation, I will focus on that. Madam, please proceed further. I think the next speaker, Joshi sir, has already joined. Yes, more holistic. Yes, madam. Hello. More holistic and multidisciplinary education will be becoming a major part of all of us as institutions. Here some example is given as the example of Tachashila, Nalanda and other universities. Those were working with their entire system and they were very much renowned with the entire world, and students from various countries were coming over there for getting some good outputs. Now I am going to read this particular statement, which is very important, and I find this as one of the important statements in the national education policy, that the very idea of this policy of that all branches of creative human endeavor, including mathematics, science, vocational subjects, professional subjects, and soft skill, should be considered as an art that has distinctly Indian origin. This is, I find, as one of the important statement, one of the important aspects of the new educational policy, that yes, education being imparted, which is the Indian education of Indian origin, that is our base, which is the education of our Indian origin, and this origin with having that creative human endeavors, in like having the creativity in the mathematics, science, vocational subjects, professional subjects. Now these professional subjects means all engineering, your pharmacy, your course which is coming under the professional education is covered over here. And this very important is the soft skill should be considered as an art. And based on this as an art, now we can develop as a vertical for the accreditation system for the as per this NEP. Madam, please go ahead. Next slide. This nation of the knowledge of many arts. Now, this nation of the knowledge of many arts. Likewise, there can be many arts having many type of interdisciplinary combinations. Can be further modernized as a liberal art, and then further with this kind of liberal art, we will be there available for the entire world with our strong base, with our strong conceptuality for the growth of the nation, for the growth of the country, for the growth of, or for rather contributing to the world. Assessment of educational approaches in undergraduate education that integrate humanities and arts with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as a STEM have consistently showed positive learning outcomes. This is as per the existing system, including increased creativity and innovation, critical thinking and higher order of thinking capacities, problem-solving abilities, teamwork, communication skill, more in-depth learning and mastery of curriculum across various fields, increases in social and moral awareness. Likewise, all these basic structure which was there available in the ancient era, all those basic structures now are expected to be the part of educational system with the support of arts, liberal arts, and STEM as a various faculties, various disciplines in the multidisciplinary aspects. It is what expected. And based on this, now we are expecting further accreditation for NEP in the upcoming days. Next slide, madam. A holistic and multidisciplinary education would aim to develop all capacities of human being, intellectual, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, and moral in an integrated manner. This is what expected. Such holistic, now see all these aspects, how those can be considered, how those will be available, and what will be the role of we as a faculty, institute, and universities towards the accreditation, that I will try to cover in the last slide. But I am taking all of you to such kind of, first of all, parameters. Such a holistic education shall be in the long term, and the approach of all undergraduate programs, including those in professional, technical, and vocational disciplines. Now see, hardly we were considering vocational as a discipline. Now vocational has become an important discipline of our educational system. Research is also improved and enhanced through a holistic and multidisciplinary education approach. Research based on all this, research is to be there with all institutions with holistic approach, having multidisciplinary nature, so that with the multidisciplinary nature of that research, there can be various applications developed, there can be various theories developed, there can be various, you can say, principles developed further, and then we will be there as a strong nation. Madam, please keep this slide, because already we are running short of time. Next slide. Again, next slide. Yes. Now, ultimately, with the educational systems, unless there is not an assessment, we cannot say that there is a degree awarding things available with the institutions, with the universities, which will be further awarded to the students. So, for that assessment, there should be certain credit system. So, the credit will be given in all bachelor's degree programs for these kind of multidisciplinary subjects, if they are done from the accredited departments or through ODL, online distance learning mode, when they are not offered in the class at the higher educational system. This is what the flexibility. Just I quote one example. Last week only, there is some announcement that the road traffic department, RTO, for them, they have announced one scheme that they are going for the award of license, driving license to the community. And that award of licensing will not be with particular tests, which are nowadays conducted by the RTO departments. Those tests will be removed from the system of the licensing, provided if you are trained by the training institution which is accredited. That is what they are saying. If you are getting the training or the driving training from the training institute which is accredited, then you did not to get, you will get the license from that training institute only. This is what the importance of, this one example I am quoting here, this is what the importance of accreditation system, even for nowadays, not apart from the educational system, now it is coming for everybody as a part of, because see, accreditation is ultimately leading to the quality. And if quality is there, there will not be any question for the impure outcome. Definitely it will be very strong outcome. Towards the attainment of such holistic and multidisciplinary education, the flexible and innovative curriculum of all higher education institutions shall include credit-based courses, and projects in the areas of the community engagement and service, environmental education and value-based education. So all these are, again, if you think, if you go, these are our basic things. As a country, these are very basic things that are expected. And fortunately, as an India country, we are having this culture. Now, towards this culture, through NEP, we are again trying to strengthen the further things for the accreditation purposes as well, with their accountabilities. Value-based education will include the Department of Humanities, Ethical, Constitutional and Universal Human Values for youth, that is Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prem, Ahimsa. All these are the, we say that all these are the learnings in our traditional system. But now those learnings with the support of technology will be there with the scientific temper, citizenship values, and also with the life skills, lessons towards the seva and service for the community. As the world is becoming increasingly interconnected, global citizen education, a response to contemporary global challenges will be provided to empower learners to become aware of and understand global issues and to become active promoters for more peaceful, tolerant, inclusive, secure, and sustainable societies. This is what our ultimate goal is through this particular NEP and through the accreditation of the systems. Madam, please go to the next slide. Now, this is what 3 years degree course, 4-year degree course and their structure. I will not go into the details. I hope that in the earlier 10 days, it must be passed on by some of the experts. Yes, ma'am. Yes, this is the last but one slide wherein the research-based education. This is also taken from the NEP. Research-based education can be there at the different levels. There may be 2 years program because ultimately every educational system is to be there with certain time bindings, with certain time boundaries. There may be a 2-year program with a second year devoted entirely to the research for those who have completed the 3 years bachelor degree program. Means after 3 years bachelor degree program, the PG program will be of 2 years, but out of these 2 years nowadays, it is expected that the second year should be entirely focused on the research. For the students completing 4 years bachelor's degree program with research as a part of their 4-year degree course, there could be only 1 year master's program. It's within the 5 years with the 4-year bachelor's degree course and with the 1 year as a master's course that student will be with the master's degree in the professional education. But these 4 years will be having some research component in the curriculum. Then there may be an integrated 5 years bachelor's and master's degree programs. Many universities have already started with this. And undertaking a PhD shall require either a master's degree or a 4-year bachelor's degree in research. Now see, my intention of including this slide as it is with the content from the NEP is that we are supposed to go for the accreditation for different levels of the education like diploma, degree, post-graduation. And everywhere nowadays, research component is expected. So it is our responsibility to add such kind of research component in this system so that there will be the ace for going further the accreditation processes. And of course, this MPhil program will be discontinued according to this. But it doesn't mean that MPhil program is discontinued means that research component is not there in the system. Yes, that research component is given more weightage, more emphasis at or during the graduation itself. Yes, madam, next slide. Please go ahead. Next slide. Again, next. I think I have crossed my time limits. Now, this is the concluding slide for me that for my presentation. With all these aspects, whatever we have discussed, right from expectation of NEP, today's hurdle of the higher education, what are expected from the accreditation, how we are doing accreditation with the system today as per the criteria, what is the role of multidisciplinary education, and all this. What we should be there. This is what expected that concluding or with all these aspects, whatever we have discussed earlier till now, all these aspects are to be converted into the accreditation parameters. So there are certain flexibilities already provided by the accreditation authorities like National Board of Accreditation that yes, you as a system can define your course outcome. Instead of given the course outcome by the university or the accreditation council, You also can define your outcomes. And that is what this particular line is meaning for. You can define whatever you have defined as a course, as a structure, you should be in a position to define those outcomes, and then those course outcomes should be evaluated, should be assessed further by the Accreditation Council for awarding the accreditation. Establishing the system to adopt such changes in the educational systems. Yes, this is our responsibility as a faculty, as an educationist, as a governing body of the institutions, as a principal, as a director, that we should establish the systems which will adopt easily such kind of educational systems based on the parameters that we have discussed. Looking at the assessment as an outcome-based assessment. Yes, every assessment, whatever assessment you are doing, it should be with the outcome base. Every assessment. And fortunately, these kind of accreditation will also be the part of your primary education as per this NEP. So this is what expected, that we should be having habit of looking towards the every assessment as an outcome based. That is nothing but, in a true sense, ethically a professional approach of conducting the activities. Then focusing on multidisciplinary education with the use of appropriate technologies. Yes, we should be in a position to make use of appropriate technologies for getting the multidisciplinary subjects, multidisciplinary educational status for our institution. And then we should be prepared for new accreditation parameters and the systems based on all such kind of things. If not, even then, we can have these as a best practices, even though these may not be available in the today's accreditation system, but today's accreditation system is also having very wide vision. Very wide vision is there, and they have provided us the best practices section. Whatever best practices are there, you should adopt such kind of things as the best practices and go ahead with the accreditation. But apart from the best practices, these are expected to be our regular practices nowadays through the multidisciplinary education. And we should be very much prepared for all this. Yes, madam. Thank you very much. Thanks to the organizing team, BM College, principal, president, trustees, and the organizing team. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Any questions are there, please?
Yeah, sir, sorry to interrupt you. We have a session only for question answer towards the end. Maybe we can pick up some queries during that session.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
If sir has any meetings or anything, we can take the questions. If he's going to wait, then that's fine. We will take at the end.
Yeah. However you wish, sir. Would you like to take up the questions now, or is it okay for you to take up?
If sir permits, he is already there. Having very spending time with him. So if he permits, then only, otherwise I will continue with the question and answer session after Joshi sir's session.
Okay, sir. So in that case, we can proceed ahead.
Yes, please.
Okay. So thank you, sir, for
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for presenting your views on NEP 2020 and transformations in accreditation. You emphasize the significance of NEP on how it can go beyond academics to the impact it can make on society through the transformation it will bring into our accreditation system. Among the many valuable inputs you shared, you outlined the nuances on how educational institutions have to be accountable, ready, and prepared for the changes that lie ahead. The new accreditation criteria and assessment parameters in the pipeline. Thank you, sir, for your valuable inputs.
Thank you.
I once again would like to invite Dr. Nuruzia Kasim Madam to introduce our eminent resource person for the second session of today's webinar. He is respected Dr. Vijay Joshi, Chief Consultant RUSA from Government of Maharashtra. Nuruzia Madam.
Yeah, thank you, Anita ma'am. I'm honored to introduce a very eminent and distinguished dignitary, Dr. Vijay Joshi, sir, Chief Consultant, RUSA, Maharashtra. Sir was the Dean, Faculty of Science and Technology at University of Mumbai. Sir was nominee of the Honorable Chancellor on the Academic Council, University of Mumbai. He was a member of Management Council and member of Board of Examination and Finance Committee of University of Mumbai. Dr. Vijay Joshi, sir, has worked on governing bodies and local management committees of numerous colleges. He was also the joint director in charge, RUSA Maharashtra. Sir has over 40 years of teaching experience and in UG and PG in zoology. Sir was
Madam,
vice principal.
Hello.
Yes,
Madam,
sir.
I think that's more than enough. We will start the presentation because we are already getting late. So I think introduction is enough. That's it.
No,
Thank you.
no, sir. Please let us introduce you.
I think many of them know me, so I think that's more than enough. And I think whatever I present, I will be getting introduced. Don't worry.
Okay, sir.
Sir,
Thank you.
please just give me 2 minutes.
Yes.
Sir, it's our pleasure to introduce you. So please give us 2 minutes.
Yes, it's our pleasure to introduce. Dr. Joshi, sir, was principal of KJ Somaya College of Science and Commerce, Autonomous, and under his able administration and dynamic leadership, the college became one of the premier institutions of higher education and received various accolades, Star College status, the Best College Award by University of Mumbai under Urban category, and College with Potential for Excellence by UGC. Sir has also provided his expertise on various committees, including Exam Reform Committee, and helped establish the first cluster university in the country. He has contributed in Maharashtra State's higher education policy. Sir's valuable guidance and assistance to many colleges during their transition to autonomy truly makes him the ambassador of academic autonomy. Sir has traveled extensively to various countries and presented and published research papers at national and international conferences. He has written numerous newspaper and magazine articles. Besides being a renowned academician and prominent researcher, Sir has immense creative talent. I'm delighted to share with all Sir's creative accomplishments. He has directed television serials, advertisements, and popular commercial plays. His directorial effort and plays has received various prestigious awards like the Nanath Mangeshkar Award consecutively for 3 years. Sir is also well known for his orator skills and has delivered popular lectures on various subjects at prestigious conferences and Vyakhyamals. Sir has many more noteworthy achievements. We are extremely privileged to have with us such an eminent academician, able administrator, and an extremely creative person. We welcome you, sir, to enlighten us on the transformational roadmap for higher education.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me try and share my screen. I think I'm supposed to do with the tab, right? If the technical team can help me.
सर साऊंड असेल तर टॅब नाहीतर मग एंटायर स्क्रीन सर.
एंटायर स्क्रीन करू का?
हो जर साऊंड असेल ना तर टॅब करा सर नाहीतर मग एंटायर स्क्रीन.
Your entire screen, it says entire screen, but it shows me the same screen which I see on the. Okay, so I will have to close this the screen.
Joshi sir, when you click on the entire screen, you get a small window in the center. Please click on that and then click the button share.
Okay, small window. I am not getting that small window here. Let me check. Present window.
So click on entire screen.
Okay.
Now
click on it. Yeah, I have clicked on entire screen.
Now, so you get a window in the center of your. So click on that.
I share.
The blue button will activate share.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We can see your presentation coming on the screen.
Yeah. That's it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So,
सर ते हाईड करून टाका, जर खाली जे पट्टी आहे ना सर, ती प्लीज हाईड वर क्लिक करा सर, म्हणजे पूर्ण दिसेल. थँक्यू.
So it was you can able to see my presentation?
No, sir. We could see the Google Meet.
No, not yet.
So you may have to repeat the procedure. Yeah. So we can see the Google Meet.
So now you can click on the presentation.
On the
whichever is
presentation.
there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now we can see the PPT. You can run the slideshow.
Yeah, now
Sure,
it's
sure.
visible.
Now it's visible. Good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now you can see my presentation. I hope I'm not seeing it in the next window, so I'm not sure whether you can able to see.
So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
No, sir. Sir, it was visible. Sir, no, don't stop, sir. Just minimize this.
This should minimize this, okay?
So we can see now.
ठीक है.
Okay.
No problem.
Sir.
Yeah. Can you hear me and see my presentation? Sorry for those that interruption.
Yes,
and thank you very much. 364 pages, distilled in 66 pages as a national education policy, and you have given me 45 minutes to deliver it. No wonder that sir has extended his presentation, because it is very difficult to condense and give some sense of what is happening exactly. So I am going to speak, I think, thanks to Kharat sir, my co-panelist, who has already laid a foundation for me. And I'm going to spend some time and give you my thoughts about, though I think it has now been there for quite some time. So every academician has seen this particular national education policy. And there was a lot of debate and discussion which went on around this national education policy. And I really feel it's a transformational roadmap, which is much required a roadmap for the developing nation like us, which is ushering itself into Industry 4.0. We are in a disruptive age where things are moving so fast and we are very slow. I think, as Mashtraikar sir always keeps on saying, that Indian higher education system doesn't require evolution, but it requires revolution. It is not just a leapfrogging, but a pole vaulting, that kind of a pace which is required. And this national education policy gives us that impetus in order to make that leap, make that pole vaulting. It has given us that. So how we take it, that becomes very important. So I'm going to start my presentation with these policy galore. It is not that this is the first policy. We have seen several policy, and a Kothari Commission is one of the prominent policy we have seen, which is written by J.P. Nayak, though it is called as Kothari Commission, the academician of Maharashtra. And it's a wonderful policy, but then all policies, they don't get translated into realities. And that's the reason why we have a lag, because our country is a diverse country, our needs are diverse, and education, unfortunately, is not in the forefront of our agenda. But this time, this particular policy, after 33 years, which has come, which has given us a guiding force, which has breaking the mold of a Macaulay, which we were trying to break for 70 odd years, and creating babus. We wanted to have a very self-centered, Indianized, with a self-respect, the Indian higher education system, and that national education policy professes. And I think this policy, which is made not by babus, it is made by academicians. I think if you see the team of policy makers, I think there are scientists and academicians. So I think we have lot of hopes with this policy. But policy is nothing but a document. It's a visioning statement. Now, thereafter, you have to task. There will be tasking of each policy. There are 117 interventions in this policy, especially only in higher education, of around 28 odd pages, which is devoted to higher education. We need to have an implementation strategy in place. We need to have a roadmap. We need to have a resources in order to implement this. And so in my presentation, I will not talk much about the policy, but I will be talking about some of the course, the colleges, institutions like us, which are standing very tall, should take up as a precursor when this policy unveils and it becomes a reality and get translated into the actual reality in the time horizon of 30 odd years. Now, the dominant philosophy here, you must have heard Dr. Kharat saying this, that the dominant philosophy of this particular NEP, it is integrated. It is not a piecemeal kind of a work. It is right from early childhood education to PhD. So it covers the entire spectrum of education per se. So it has changed the name even for our ministry, and it has become a Ministry of Education and HRD ministry, right? So it is comprehensive. It gives you some kind of a sense of how to implement it. So it's a very comprehensive, it is futuristic. And as I mentioned earlier, it is India-centric. The self-reliance of India, the self-pride of the India, it wants to reinstate that self-pride which was broken by our earlier rulers. So I think it's an India-centric policy. And what is the core at the policy? Core at the policy is flexibility to the students. The students, they are at the core of the policy. It gives a maximum flexibility to the student. It is extremely learner-centric. It talks about an experiential learning. I like this policy connecting it to the society. No, you cannot just keep on sitting into the silos and sitting into the ivory towers and keep on teaching and learning for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, depending on what course you do. But there has to be a context to it, right? So it has to relate to what is happening into society right now. So it becomes an inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented kind of a policy, which keeps on putting some pedagogies at the back burner and certain pedagogies at forefront. So this policy is telling us so many things and so many intervention to imbibe. So what are the fundamental principles? The recognizing and identifying, fostering the unique capability of each student, giving him flexibility. We have been, we have had a very hard separation, no? Arts, science, commerce, teachers' education. Sir was talking about engineering education, technical education, vocational education. So how we can make it multidisciplinary and holistic? How we can emphasize the conceptual understanding, creativity and critical thinking. I think people keep on, now this becomes almost cliche that there are 21st century skills, but then 21st century skills are also changing. There's a resilience, which is a new skill which has come during this pandemic, right? So how we can become resilient as an economy, resilient as a people. So ethics, human contribution, I think this all, it keeps on promoting the multilinguality, that power of language. Because if one language is lost, one Sanskriti is lost, one culture is lost. And I think we have got a dying languages. There are several Indian languages which are dying, at the dying languages. Every literary association keeps on saying whether this language will survive. So I think it gives an center stage to the Indian language. And we believed as an Indian that lifelong learning is our motto. But this policy keeps on talking about how to imbibe these life skills and technology. So the respect for the diversity, full equity and inclusion, synergy in the curriculum across all levels of the education. Now we have kept this vocational education, skill education out of our mainstream education. And look at this irony. No, you don't get a wireman, you don't get a plumber, but we have got an educated youth, you don't get to work. So I think probably we'll have to think of this synergy in our curriculums. And most importantly, teacher and faculty at the heart of the learning process. I think this is the first time this policy keeps on talking about teachers. And there are many times this policy mentions about teacher. If you count, there are 200 times it has mentioned about teacher and faculty. So I think this policy keeps teacher at the center. And of course, it has given us a liberation. No, we have seen 70 years of regulation. No, we are over-regulated and under-governed kind of an higher education system. There are 23 agencies keeps on telling us what to teach, how to teach, when to teach, how much to teach. I think this regime has changed and the regime of freedom has come. So from regulation to self-disclosure, that's the change. No, you are autonomous. You are given the autonomy. Now, please do something which is good. And if you falter, if you do something wrong, I think the regulators will come very heavily on you. Now, we have not closed down any organization, any school, any college. It is very difficult to close down a college even they are not following in the regulatory framework. So though there were regulations, we could not able to regulate the higher education system, right? So the continuous review, which is mentioned by even Kharat sir also, that a continuous review of whatever we are doing, I think it becomes very, very important. So I think this is what the substantial investment in strong, vibrant public education system. We have not seen 4.5%, but then it goes up 7% of the GDP, and people are asking from where the revenues will going to come. So I'm not going to touch this broad intervention which the policy suggests. There is an intervention which policy suggests about governance and regulation, a single regulator. It talks about the National Research Foundation. It talks about National Education Technology Forum, National Testing Agency, internationalization of education, promotion of Indian language. All this, I think I'm not going to speak. I'm going to speak about only certain key areas which are related to us, which are related to our higher education system, like phasing out affiliation, flexibility and autonomy, change in the teaching learning philosophy to inculcate the creative thinking values, the ownership, taking an ownership. I think we as a society has got on various crises. There is a crisis of purpose. There is a crisis of ownership. There is a crisis in relationship, which we have. And there are several crises which we face. Crisis of authenticity is another crisis. No, whatever we are doing is not authentic. Whatever we are doing is just a window dressing. Our relationships are crumbling. And I think we don't have a sense of purpose taking this organization. Now, this kind of an institution which you are representing, I think it's a wonderful institution which was built. There are age-old institutions which are having strong foundation of a purpose. And I think we are moving it. And I am going to talk about ABC of revolution, that is academic banking, credit banking systems, and accreditation, which sir has spoken extensively. I will be giving some my views about what the educational institutions can see in coming future. I think why the educationists per se have become so desperate and so uncomfortable, and why they cannot fathom out what kind of a mold change this higher education system will bring. There's the old mold which is very strong, which is existing for 70 years. Breaking that old mold and coming into the new order, I think we cannot envision, because it is a very idealistic vision. It is a vision which is so idealistic and so drastic that this broad idealistic vision you cannot visualize, because we don't have the examples. We don't have the showcase the successes of this particular policy. There is no models which we can emulate. There are no champions which have made this change. So definitely this particular policy will have these pilot projects, because we are dealing with youth. And I think this is another cliche which we keeps on talking about is demographic dividend and demographic disaster. The young nation, if something goes wrong with the higher education, I think we will be ruining the young nation. So naturally there will be pilot project, experimentation which will go on. But I think the willingness to experiment, that becomes a key feature. Otherwise it just become a policy paper as the earlier policies and will not translate itself. Who is going to translate? We are going to translate. So we need to understand what are the precursors to which this policy should be implemented. So it's a comprehensive implementation documentation. Now it has to get translated, right? So there are 117 interventions. Now let us not talk about the financial intervention, because we are not sure that finance will come. Let us talk about non-financial reform. It will require just a change of mindset, and this non-financial reform can easily be inducted in our higher education system, which is currently existing right now. So finances will come, definitely. Of course, unless there are finances, we cannot change. Can anybody stop us to write the institutional development plan? So any organization we want to change, like an organization your organization, if this organization, BM Ruya Girls College, want to change itself and take a leap into this new national education policy, I think what the institution should do is first do a status and diagnosis. What are our revenues? What is our student composition? What is our teacher strength? Teacher strength does not mean only whether he is PhD in which subject or whether he is a post-graduation. That is given, that is minimum required. There are ancillary strength of a teacher, and we never use those strength of our teacher. What are the courses which are offered? Whether the credit requirement are right, whether the multidisciplinary options are there right now in our curriculum. And from here, where we want to take our organization. What is our governing structure? Because governing structure has to change. Once we go into the hierarchical governing structure will not help. The participatory governing structure will have to evolve if you want to bring this change further. What is a teacher load? Now, the teaching load is one such parameter. I don't know who has coined this particular word, concept, teacher load. The moment the word load comes, I think I have a very vivid picture of a hamal carrying those bags on the head and I think getting a railway staircase. That's an image which it comes. I think it's not, it is a teaching pleasure. It's not a teacher's load, right? So I think we'll have to find out how the credit-based approach in a teaching load can be taken, because we will be now dealing with the credit system. What are the academic innovation right now we have? And a student support system we have taken for granted because they believe in us. There is hardly any student support system which we provide. And then create a vision document, which I feel that institutional development plan, that what will be our financial plan, how we are going to set a target. If Kharat sir is prescribing multidisciplinary, how my educational institution is going to evolve in a multidisciplinary educational institution. What are the strategies in which we are going to evolve, slowly, silently, but surely? Which academic programs are needed? What kind of a human resource management is required, whether it is in place, whether there is an adequate physical and technical infrastructure, whether investing in physical infrastructure now is not given. Because if you keep on improving the only physical infrastructure, and we feel that the face-to-face education is going to happen in our organization, we are going wrong. Peter Drucker long back has said that this brick and mortar systems will go. We'll have to invest in our technical infrastructure. Now, the 40% of the total courses now you're going to teach online because UGC has prescribed this 40% online teaching. So whether there are technical infrastructure is adequate, how we are going to take this technical infrastructure, and monitoring and review system, which is a hallmark of any developing educational institution, which bothers and keeps quality at the center. Probably these review systems will have to step out. So my first prescription in order to align ourselves into national education policy to any educational institution is prepare your institution development plan. That should be an institutional strategy, where we are right now, and from this, where we are going to reach. That is the plan, which a long distance institutional developmental plan. And I think this prescribes the faculty at the heart of the transformation. There has to be adequate faculty. It says that ad hoc, contextual appointment should be stopped. The faculty recruitment solely based on academic expertise and teaching capabilities. Now we'll have to change even faculty recruitment procedures. I think this is what they are talking about, a tenure track. It's not that once you get into the education system and once you become permanent, you become relaxed. There is a track system. No, you have to perform 5 years, then you get an extension of 5 years. And I think this in US and in any other Western countries, this tenure track system is there. And once you become a professor, you are a lifelong professor. You cannot retire after 60 years or 58 years. You will become a lifelong member of that higher education system. So I think this is changing. And if this is changing, what should be our institutional strategy? This is what is being professed. I think we'll have to establish a training center. You don't have to depend on, right now we are dependent on the orientation course and refresher course, which I think are conducted by HRD ministry's hand, human resource centers. I think those, everybody know, and we should be honest, they have made a difference. but everybody know what happens in this refresher course and orientation course. So it is not like a mass educating mass of our college. I think there is a wonderful saying in Marathi. Those who understand Marathi will acknowledge this. "आडात नाही तो पोऱ्यात कुठून येणार." If your teacher are not strong enough, how they will inculcate in the students? If the teacher don't know what is AI, how they will going to teach the AI, right? So I think the new technologies, new things. So the continuous professional faculty development should be planned in advance in all educational institutions, and a sizable amount should be kept for this continuous professional faculty development plan. And you should have your own established training center, which will cater to individual needs of a training requirement. It is not just like a training program which every teacher attends. No, every individual teacher requires a different kind of a skills. And as in any MNCs, this training requirement are identified, and then the training is given to that particular person so that he will keep on growing. And if we are going to do an online teaching for 40% of the total teaching load, I think you need to have a robust education technology program, so that it is not that just learning a Zoom. No, over a Zoom platform, if you deliver a lecture, it is not a deliver a lecture. There is no engagement at all from the other side. And there is, I think there are papers and papers now, there are gaps in online teaching learning. I think the MOOCs or online teaching is a different kind of a pedagogy altogether. And if you want to understand this pedagogy, we need to have the program for educational technology. We have to revise the HR policy. We need to compensate to those who are performing well. So there is a differential reward system should be there in our education system. It is not that everybody gets 7 pay, whether he performs or whether he not performs. No, that's a governmental scheme. But individually in our organization, we need to reward those who are doing well. Even he is junior, you should give him a reward as an educational organization so that we can empower the faculty. This is the first intervention we should do. So first intervention is institutional development plan for a umpteen number of years. The second kind of an institutional strategy should be, you'll have to keep on creating a potential, developing the potential of all your teachers so that they can be rewarded and they can keep on empowered and they can then keep on delivering the change which we expect. And every teacher who is sitting here will keep on giving me n number of reasons. No, sir, aap bahut kuch bolte ho, you know, there's a reality. We have got only 60% teachers. Where are the teachers? The government is not giving salary. We are there are unaided courses, this, that. There is 1,000 types. You know, unaided courses are paid less. There are no teachers. There is no faculty. No, we always keep on waiting for somebody other to help us. Government organization to help us, others to help us. Think of this teacher, Ranjit Singh Disley. You have not heard the name of Paritwadi in Solapur. Now, this person is now has become an advisor for education to World Bank, because he could able to merely with his laptop, which is given by his father of 25,000 rupees, he could think of QR coded of a textbook, which are now QR coded across the board. And I think the visuals come in a very early stage, and he can use this mobile of those Solapur Paritpada region in order to teaching and learning. And in a late cross borders, he has developed 90,000 pace buddies between Pakistan and India, Iran and Iraq. No, those who are fighting with each other, he has managed to develop these pace buddies. There are virtual field trips. If there is some mention of how the tortoises are treated, he takes the virtual trip to 4 standard students where the tortoises are treated in a hospital. Now, there are several experiments he is showing to the entire third world country. Now, if this single person, single-handedly, without anything in his under his arm, nothing with him, can change the way we look at education, and we all are equipped so much, why can't we change? And that's kind of a mindset if we want to take. Sir has mentioned, our system is a fragmented education system. Your state university, private university, deemed to be universities, central universities, aided college, unaided college, partially aided, totally aided, all this will go and become a multidisciplinary university or degree granting autonomous college. He has mentioned that there is reconstruction, restructuring and consolidation of a higher education system. So there will be large multidisciplinary institutions. There can be teaching universities where teaching will become a prime. It doesn't mean that they will not do research, but the research will not be a main focus. And there are research universities where teaching also will happen, but research is main base. And then autonomous institutions. So the all affiliation system is phased out, and the affiliation system affiliated to SNDT University, affiliated to Mumbai University, affiliated to Nagpur University will go away, because we have taken this affiliation system from West. West has already stopped it, and we continue doing it. Mumbai University has got around 700, 900 colleges, and these universities are not even able to conduct exam. Forget about giving direction to the subjects, right? So all these subjects, they will become a melting pot, and there is a liberal notion of arts. It means commerce, engineering, technology, education, arts, science, they will come into the melting pot, and instead of thali of a degree, there is a la carte approach to the student. So the flexibility is given to the student. So I think if this restructuring is coming, and there is a rationale for this restructuring, which I will omit, the progression is coming. So all 100% higher education institutions which are affiliated will become autonomous. And all autonomous institutions which are going to become a degree granting institution. So we have got 100 universities, right, 1,000 universities right now, which are granting degrees. There will be 10,000 colleges which will keep on granting degrees, right? So in our case, if you are an affiliated college, I think wisely and easily and quickly, we should become an autonomous college. And if you're autonomous college, we are going to become a degree granting college. So we need to prepare ourselves so that we can grant our degree, so that our degree is valued. We keep on cursing our universities, but still the degree you want from the university. No, you don't believe that BM Ria Girls College, it gives degree which will be valued or not. So I think if you have to create that aura behind your institution. So you become a degree, once you become a degree granting institution, that is acknowledged. And if that is to happen, you have to improve your NAC grade, whether you are autonomous college, whether you are, because that we can debate about the accreditation system which we have. But this is the only sensible parameter right now, which is attached to many, many things, even a RUSA grant or giving the subject, giving place into various bodies of the university. So I think we'll have to improve our grant. And most importantly, in coming days, the internal quality assurance cell is going to become a major body, because we have not imbibed the quality culture which is expected through internal quality assurance cell. So we have to strengthen our internal quality assurance cell. We have to monitor our indicators, which are very distinctively, project our distinctiveness. No, we keep on asking in a NAC, what is your distinctiveness of your institution? And people keep on asking what we should write. No, we'll have to create and find out what is our distinctiveness as a BM Ria Girls College or any other college who are listening to me right now. You have to do a branding exercise. No, since the number of students are far more, they keep on pouring in our colleges. They should come willingly as a first choice in your college. So you have to have a perception management of the college. This should be the institutional strategy. If that is going to happen in the coming days, this should be the institutional strategy. Now, if there is a quality liberal education is going to come, and there will be 4 years bachelor's degree, which will be having a research component, why can't we include a research component right now in our 3-year degree? So that we start as a precursor to what change which we're going to envisage, right? So I think this is a major change which I think sir must have said. The major and minor, you can keep on selecting subject. There will be integrated 5 years program. And there will be 2 kinds of a postgraduate program. Once you have got 3 years, then you'll have to go 2 years postgraduate program. And those who have done 4 years bachelor along with the last year with research, they will have to use only 1 year for their postgraduate program. And every postgraduate and PhD scholar will have to keep on teaching in the college. So I think that if that is going to, a teaching assistant is going to come, why can't our postgraduate right now help our institution to teach the undergraduate at FI level? So if you've got a postgraduate department, say of chemistry, why can't a postgraduate in MSc Part 2 taking some practicals in FY BSc along with a teacher? Now, if that is going to come, inculcate that as a habit in your organization so that you can become mature once it comes in that way. So that's my solution, my institutional strategy will be undertake curriculum review and whether improve the liberal approach into it. Now you will tell me that university gives us, I am not autonomous, how can I change the curriculum? So evolve some meaningful methods, assessment methods, and keep on doing a certificate course, add-on courses, so that it becomes a liberal art educational hub in coming days. So evolve some meaningful assessment process so that you have to increase the hands-on learning. So hands-on learning has to increase so that not for a credit courses. No, you keep on increasing hands-on, not for just in credit courses, but summer workshop, tinkering labs, some certificate course, so that the strategy is we go towards more and more liberal arts education. The most important and my favorite kind of a change which this particular education policy talks about is an academic bank of credit. It's a credit bank which we're going to establish by December 2020, which is because of pandemic, it has moved forward. But you must see the draft version of the academic bank of credit, which soon will become a notification in coming days. And I for one feel, without changing much of anything of higher education system, this is going to prove as a most important intervention in the national education policy in coming days. What is this academic bank of credit? A student opens an account as in a normal bank, and institution also opens an account in a normal bank. And students keep on earning credit from one institution to other, from third institution, for fourth institution, and keep on depositing this credit into bank. And once they accumulate this credit, he can redeem those credit for degree, diploma, or certificate, right? So he can go to MIT in Kharat sir's lecture, and he can earn something, and he can come to even Birla College, or he can go to Somaya College or Xavier's College or this university and that university, and he keeps on collecting the credits. Now, this is any subject and any combination. You need not have a particular subject combination at all. I can learn music in one institution, and I can go in other institution to learn physics of music. I am interested in knowing the political science, so I will take a political science, and Sanskrit is my language, favorite language. I can learn Sanskrit. I think this kind of a mix, there is no specialization. So notion of specialization is broken, and it becomes more interdisciplinary, because every institution, what that institution can offer has got a limitation, isn't it? If you ask the BM Rio College to offer many courses, it is not possible for them, right? Because of several constraints. But if I go to, if one institution cannot offer everything, let me allow to student to go to multiple institutions which are offering a bouquet of courses in their institution, and they are doing well. For example, if you go to Mulund College, not Mulund College of Commerce, but Vijay College, they are exemplarily offering courses in science, isn't it? Because Kelkar refinery, their parent institution is doing something in science, isn't it? So they offer something very good there. So why can't I go there and learn? And botany is offered in Xavier, so why can't I go and learn something basic botany in Xavier's College? So there is a notion of specialization is broken. Notion of branches is broken. Type of degree will change totally. It is a liberal arts of education. It is not BSc, BCom or MSc. Of course, you will have certain specialization. So you accumulate 70% and you become specialized in commerce or something of that sort. But the notion of branches is broken. So there won't be art, science, commerce branches. In coming days, name of your college will change. It is no more art, science and commerce college. It's a college. It's a multidisciplinary college, right? So the credit becomes a currency of your diploma and degree. So you accumulate credit and earn degree, diploma or certificate. So notion of this education currency as a time, it is just like that tunnel. We have decided this path. You have to go through this path to earn a degree of SNDT university. This courses, this time. So I think this notion of time is also broken. So I can take a fast track degree. If I am very fast, I will keep on earning credits in 2 years and get a degree. I think they have now given remission in 2 semesters. So I can earn the degree instead of 6 semesters in 4 semesters. Or I can take 7 semesters or 8 semesters, depending on my wish and will. So there is a slow learner and the fast learner track, which was not there in Indian higher education system, will come. There will be multiple entry exit. I want to play cricket for a year. I go out and come back and start earning credits instead of sitting again for a first year class, isn't it? So the notion of mode of education will be broken, and there will be a lot of flexibility. So they can change specialization, they can change institution, the best institution, best course, best teacher, best timetable which is suited to him. I am not an early riser. So if you are giving some education in 7:30 in the morning, I am not interested. I will go to the evening classes because I am not early riser. So the same to the fast learners and slow learners. The institution can also offer several things. And of course, this notion of linearity will go. I can choose a course of FY or I can choose a course of TY immediately or a research methodology immediately. So this ABC revolution is going to change and accelerate the higher education, which is slow moving entity. Everything happens in a snail pace thanks to the pandemic that we have adopted this technology very quickly. The freedom to the stakeholder, there's an extreme flexibility to the student and integration of a technology. If you don't integrate technology, you will not remain in the race. So education become an omnipresent entity. It is anytime, anywhere, any mode, any language, any speed, any specialization. And I think if that is the revolution which is going to come, all A-grade institutions, once the notifications come, should register in themselves into the academic bank of credit. You should amend your course registration rules, course requirement rule, credit transfer rule. You have to create this credit transfer, credit acceptance rules. Now we keep on talking about foreign collaborations, no, because NAC asks us, how many foreign collaborations you have? Hardly anything happens. I have got a 40 years of experience in higher education. Nothing happens in these collaborations. But I think we got that number because we want to earn that credit, earn that CGPA score. Why can't we transfer credit amongst our sister institution, amongst our neighboring institution? So I think we have to create this kind of an ecosystem which will allow the students to keep on earning credit from various organizations. Sir must have mentioned that there is a flexible curricular structure and a creative combination of the courses and research-based specialization. These are the great changes which this higher education, this national education policy has brought. So if you are going to have this multiple flexible curricular structure, I think we'll have to break this linear structure. You cannot have political science paper 1 in FY and paper 2 in SY and paper 3 in TY. This linear approach, hierarchical linear approach to our curriculums will have to go. The approach has to be non-linear. It should have a distributed but complete by itself. Those 3 credits which I earn will not have prelude or postlude and something to learn thereafter. There has to be useful. If you want to exit quickly, it should be useful to the student, isn't it? Otherwise, we learn something which is half and integrate your skill and vocational education. Why creative combination? If you want to help change the world, you need to have a broad essential proficiencies, which our students, unfortunately, they lack. What are these proficiencies? Our student cannot write clearly because we have omitted one language from our commerce and science section. They cannot reason analytically. The world's most complex issues, if they want to navigate and address future innovation, they should know what is innovation, right? There are unforeseen challenge, and if I have to believe Yuval Harari, who says that we will be creating a nonsense class if you don't give a right kind of skill set to our education, because the skills is the currency and lifelong learning is nothing but an oxygen in the future, because our students are going to change three 3 careers in their lifetime. I'm not talking about 3 different jobs. I'm talking about 3 different careers, which will require a different skill sets. So we keep on teaching them so much that we don't finish our curriculum. Don't bother them. Give them some strength and give them certain creative combinations. Our students, they lack aesthetic sense. They don't know what is ethics and civics. The science and technology in society, what is happening right now, what has happened in future, what is our history, how the societies are evolved. And every student must have, otherwise you are going to create these doctors. Earlier also people used to die, right? But we don't used to thrash the doctors, right? But every doctor now face a barrage of fights if the relative dies in his hospital, because he cannot communicate, because he has lost the social consequences of the entire milieu, because we have de-alienated our medical education from our mainstream education. So you need to know what is a social sense. We need to know what is engineering and applied science. Otherwise, if you don't know the biological science to all the engineers right now, what is a blood test, what do you mean by D-dimer, or what do you mean by O2 concentration? I think because they lack this basic biological science information, so they become lopsided. So you need to have this creative combination. And I strongly believe the exploratory writing and quantitative reasoning with the data, everything boils down to statistics thereafter. So how we create, and language is must. At least one language. I will profess 2, but at least one language. He has to explain his views very clearly with the other people, right? Now, unless you have a language capability, how can you communicate what you want to communicate to the others? You have a great brainwave, you have great innovation. If you cannot communicate it, what is the use of that brainwave? What is the use of that knowledge? So language must be there. I have charted some, I think I will skip this, some Yale and Cornell. I think you can also see what they are doing. And I think as we move forward, we shall realign ourselves with how the Ivy League schools are doing. Sir has very elaborately mentioned about a new accreditation regime. Now, what will happen is NAC and NBA will going to merge into a meta-accreditation body, which is called as National Assessment and Accreditation Council. It will called as National Accreditation Council. Assessment word will go. So this meta-accreditation body will keep on recognize the regional accreditors. And these regional accreditators will form a recognition policies of their own, guided by this meta-accreditor body. So you'll have to create the whole accreditation ecosystem. And if you don't know what are the parameters and benchmark, which right now in case of NAC, we don't know how much marks I will get if I have got this many research paper. We don't know right now because the benchmarking is done, but it is not disclosed. And I think instead of the NAC has evolved over the years because of the inputs, right? From 2017, they have changed thrice or 4 times. They are changing their parameters. They are changing their indicators. They are changing the way they populate the indicator. And they are asking us now that the AQAR should be filed immediately, every year, without fail. And if you're not doing it, I think you will be lagging behind. Why they are insisting in disclosing the information, giving an AQAR every year? Because this particular information in coming days will give you a real-time accreditation. No, nobody has to come and accredit you if you populate the information. And that is why I prefer one college, one statistics, one college, one data kind of a thing. No, don't keep on giving different data to various agencies. Then DVV will catch hold of you, isn't it? And from graded autonomy, they will be going, graded accreditation, they will be going for a binary accreditation. Means either you're accredited or you're not accredited. So first 15, 30 years, they will keep on moving towards the accreditation system, and they will keep on accrediting the institution in a graded manner since they become autonomous, and then thereafter there will be binary in accreditation. And I for one feel that there can be a real-time accreditation. Why every 7 years or 5 years or in some institution 10 years you come and see what is the quality? Every year you have to measure whether you are doing well or not. So there has to be a real-time accreditation framework, which will keep on telling right at this moment how your institution fare. And for that, you'll have to populate the data every year. And I think why external agency coming us and talking about our own accreditation? We'll have to accredit ourselves as an internal quality assurance cell. They are the watchdogs. They should see the parameter and where we are failing and where we are going down, isn't it? And they should put a red flag saying that this is where we are going out. And sir has rightly pointed out, and I for one feel, there has to be outcome-based accreditation. Inputs are important. How many classrooms, how many laptops, how many smart classrooms, they are important, I agree. Even a process is also important. Teaching, learning process, evaluation process, student support system process, monitoring process. But all this input and processes, what is important is output. How much he has learned is more important. That this famous story which every academician tells, that one small kid asked, told the entire community that I have taught this dog singing. An entire community gathers around and he orders, dog, please sing. Dog, of course, barks. And everybody is very unhappy with the child. And they start abusing him. The child's answer is our answer as a teacher. I told you, I have taught him singing. I have not told you that he has learned. No, we have taught, but whether he's learned, whether there's a learning outcome, whether he has acquired that skill. If a BSc graduate cannot write a check, whether can you call him as a BSc graduate? Whether our employability, everybody comes and tells us your graduates are not employable. So if they are not employable, there is something fault in our input and processes, right? So I think teachers' output, institutional output, and student output, if you measure, then I think the new accreditation regime will be prepared on the outcome-based accreditation. So there will be focus on student output, institutional output, and teacher output, and not so much focus on the input and processes. So I think institutions should try and improve the strategy. So the COs and POs and PSOs, writing it is not enough. Measuring it is important. I think because of the Washington Accord, the engineering colleges have mastered it slowly. I think our arts science colleges also should take up measuring these COs, POs, so that we understand what is an outcome of education. I think the convergence of the skill ecosystem, we have kept the soft skill and vocational skill out of our educational bounds. And this converging it to the mainstream is one of the important criteria which National Education Policy talks about. So I think for this conversion, we have to operationalize the integration process of vocational education in our streams. There has to be guiding and counseling service which will talk to the students and give them certain elective courses and bridge courses so that they keep on harnessing these skills. Now, there are always two types of skills. One type of a skill which are required for every profession, whatever professions you are in, which are called as embedded skill and embedded skill. Right now, there are two kinds of skill which we look at. Embedded skill means it is embedded in our education system. And appended skill means they know your degree is not going to help, so they go and study SAP, or they go and study some accounting software because they know this is going to be useful for them. So they append, and there is a whole lot of credential bazaar which has come out of our higher education system. They don't believe that your degree will give them that kind of a skill. So we'll have to embed the skills in our degree education, and there at least embed the core skills. Forget about the very vocational skills. Forget about the skills which are required for a particular domain. But language, communication, numeracy skill, basic skills, critical thinking skills, that at least we should start embedding in our curriculums. And I think that will help to converge the skill and vocational education. I'm not going to talk about the governance and national foundation. To sum up, it's a well-intended policy, but the implementation is key. And I, for one, feel that every academician, we should be on a forefront in a whatever way, whatever potential he has to understand and try to implement this path-breaking transformational policy so that it becomes active. The policy as an opportunity to look inwards. We need to see ourselves, whether we are fostering innovation, when the world is fostering innovation. There are disruptive technologies, whether we are getting this, whether we are blind to future. The future is now and here. Elon Musk has sent the vehicle, and I think he and his brother is now planning to take a voyage on a different planet as a holiday, right? I think AI is disturbing everything. Now, all these disruptive technologies which are coming, but we are not seeing them. Autonomous vehicle is running on the roads. It has run thousands of kilometers without accident. The energy is changing. Everything is changing. So I think game changer in the institution is use the effectively with a required vision. And I have chartered on the basis of my experience what can be an institutional strategy in order to implement this particular activity. So the ball is in our court. When the teachers assume a leadership and work together, it will produce a synergetic effect. And nothing can stop the institution to becoming great. And nothing will stop to making our country great if all of us come together like this Ranjit Singh display so that we can change the world. I'm open to question and answer, and I think my colleague, thanks to my colleague and fellow panelists, Dr. Kharat, who is also present here for the question and answer. Thank you very much. And I hope I have exceeded few minutes, but pardon me, because in the beginning itself, I told you the subject is so vast that I cannot, but then I tried to contend with the pace of a delivery, try to give you some snippets of what is coming and what institutions should do in order to prepare themselves to roll out the national education policy.
Thank you
very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Santosh Kaulkar, for giving this opportunity to talk to this an August gathering and giving my views. I will be open to the questions, definitely. The questions cannot be foolish. The answers can be foolish, right? So you can make me foolish, right? So you can ask me any question if I know it. Definitely I will share, because and otherwise I will learn. So please, the floor is open, and I have a distinct privilege to have my fellow colleague along with me to answer your question on the subject which he has spoken. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Prabhakar from Bangalore, Government College, Bangalore.
Yeah.
Sir, in short time, you have given nice presentation. Actually, new concept, we learned a lot. We learned. My one small doubt is, when new national education policy, even though after late, it's very nice.
Dr.
But why don't we think,
your voice?
But why don't we think for single language policy
can you come
from
again?
Kashmir to Kanyakumari?
Doctor, can you come again, because your voice was crashing?
No, sir. This my doubt is, it's a NEP, new education policy, national education policy is good. But one doubt, sir, why don't we implement the single language education policy from Kashmir to Kanyakumari? That is English.
Yeah, I think yes, we can have English as a, but I think what the entire education is, there is always a issue about the language, and I think it is time and again made very clear, especially two language theory, especially the national education policy first gave a sense that entire language in the schools will be changed into the mother tongue or a state language. And I think that has created a lot of problem and misconception. The only point which was made by these education policy makers was, if you see critically in any teacher research, the concept will be understood very easily in the language mother tongue. So I think they're not saying that you remove English and put Hindi or Marathi or Kannada or Telugu in your schools and colleges. They are saying wherever possible, use mother tongue to explain. And I think this kind of a dual policy we always use when the vernacular medium students are there in our class. If you know this language, we keeps on using both the languages, English and vernacular, so that they understood it well. And I think thanks, they at least acknowledge the Indian languages, and they have chart out. I don't mind if the entire education in English in the entire country And if our students, they understand this education, and if you keep on leaving our culture, which is embedded in our languages, I think we will be missing the most important 5,000 years legacy which we are having and which we are proud of. So I think there is no conflict of a language. Whatever is understood by a student is more important than anything else than the policy, in my opinion, Dr. Prabhakar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, may I add something in that?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Dr. Prabhakar, I have seen this question in the chat box as well. See, world is becoming a global village. What is basic purpose according to our NEP and this today's status of the different languages in the India as a country? Languages are used first of all to understand the subject. This is the one criteria. Another criteria is how are you communicating it to the others. Now, when it goes to the others, who are others? That has an impact of selection of the language for our educational policy. So these are the two different aspects. If you are understanding the subject in your mother tongue, in your own language, but when you are passing out it to the others, so who are they? According to them, there is some presence of the English for such kind of for some important subjects in our curriculum. I think I addressed you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Kashyap.
Yes, I would, yeah.
Yes,
Moving forward, I would like to request Dr. Kashyap Ganatra, Assistant Professor from Department of Commerce, to lead the question answer session. As mentioned earlier, we request you to kindly post your questions in the Google Meet and YouTube, mentioning the name of the resource person to whom you would like to address the question, as this will facilitate easy coordination. Thank you. Over to you, Dr.
Thank you, Anita Madam. There is a question addressed to Dr. Kharat, sir. So the question is, in NEP, is there any provision for collaboration between institutions for exchange of faculties or subjects offered? And can students take subjects offered by the college in which we are collaboration with?
Yes, definitely. This is available, provided you should have academic autonomy over there. If you are affiliated institution, then there comes certain binding upon it. But you are autonomous with your academic autonomy, then you can adopt such kind of structures in your curriculum and then you can proceed further. But as such, the faculty exchange, student exchange programs, those are well promoted in the existing as well as in the new educational policy as well. Those are very much promoted.
Okay, sir. Thank you very
I
much.
think as I mentioned in Academic Bank of Credit, I think even you don't have a collaboration, this is possible. If you're an A-grade college and registered with Academic Bank of Credit, and if you're ready to transfer the credit, I think the institution can transfer the credit. All those A-grade colleges, in my opinion, should register once the notification is out. I think that will facilitate all A-grade colleges trading credits. Credit is like a currency. I can keep on trading credit which are registered in bank.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So there's one last question which Dr. Kalpana Dikshit madam has put, that when our content is being changed, mode of teaching learning is also being changed, then what is the need of having NET? Appointments should be on the basis of multiple and research experience.
Dr. Kashyap, please come again. Your voice was breaking.
Sorry, sir. I'll repeat the question. So Dr. Kalpana madam is having a question that when our content is being changed, mode of teaching learning is also being changed, then what is the need of having NET examination? Appointments should be on the basis of multiple skills, knowledge, and research experience. I
think I totally agree with her. There is no need of national eligibility test. I'm so fabbled. Many times the people who qualify national eligibility tests or SAT, state eligibility tests, no, it's an eligibility test. but unfortunately they write it as a degree. No, you have got MSc PhD set or MSc PhD net as a degree. It's a national eligibility test. It's a test of the eligibility. But unfortunately, why the test came into existence? Because we are not delivering the skills which are entailed by the degree, unfortunately. So if you say that I am master in chemistry, unfortunately I am not master in chemistry. So I have to reevaluate whether my knowledge is right. So the test came into existence.
Yes, sir.
Another point, the test came into existence because
Yes,
there is a variation across the country. I think there are states where the education system is robust and good, and I have traveled as an assessor in the various part of country like Bihar, Rajasthan, Delhi, all parts of north as well as south countries. I think there is a lot of variation into the quality of education which is imparted. Now, if this kind of a variation is across the board, you need to have a defining element, and then NET came into existence. At least he should be good in his strong in his subject at least. But I totally agree. Theoretically, if you have got multiple skills and if your degree entails the skills which are mentioned in the degree, there should not be any eligibility test at all. Because my PhD, my post-graduation should be taken. But unfortunately, neither the industry nor the education system takes this. Then Infosys keeps on training 5,000 engineers in their educational segment. It is slap on the face of us. It is a slap on the face of the engineering education and IT education and science education in our college. Because my end product is not their usable product. Things have changed, and as the things have changed, we have to retrain them by paying them some salary, isn't it? So I think we are teaching an expired curriculum. And that's the reason why we are creating an expired skills. And the shelf life of the skills is just an 18 months. So if your graduate works for 18 months, these skills are gone. You have to relearn the skill again. That's the pace of the skills because the shelf life of the skills has reduced. So, in my opinion, there has to be an unbundling of degree, and there is a stack of a special combination. Do you know that now Google and all these MNCs, big MNCs, they are not taking your graduates. They say that we don't want your graduates.
Yes.
Whether he knows it, he come to our organization, learn it, and start using it. To make it short, I totally agree there should not be a NET, but unfortunately the skills which entail the degree are not, and there is a variation across the country, so the NET came into existence in now.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I'm also agree with you because they must be experts in the content, but how to deliver the content in their classes, what are the other skills are required for the current scenario. So they are not aware of that. So I think continuous professional development is more important than the national eligibility test on selection and recruitment.
I think, madam, now we'll have to adapt if you want to bring a skill and vocational education in our fold, and
Yes,
the recruitments are not happening. We'll have to create one teacher, one vocational skill, or one teacher, one life skill. So we have to train our teachers to impart that skill. Then the skill education and vocational education can be integrated in our mainstream. That's my view.
Yeah, the continuous updation of the knowledge is necessary rather than to stick on a one class, one content.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, there is a wonderful insight given by both our esteemed speakers. And I'm sure all the participants have really enriched their knowledge because of this interaction. Thank you very much, sir. I'll request Anita madam to please take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashyap sir. We have among us.
पहचान सके या मेरी पहचान बन सके.
We have among us respected principal from a renowned institution present who will be sharing her afterthoughts of today's webinar. Let's welcome Dr. Asha Menon, Principal from Srimati P.N. Joshi Women's College, Ghatkopar, Mumbai. Over to you, madam.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to give a feedback of this webinar. This webinar has more than met my expectations. Very useful information was shared by the resource persons. I really appreciate both the speakers' personal anecdotes. I feel it drives the important points home. Dr. M.U. Kharat sir elaborately discussed problems with HEIs related to accreditation. He emphasized that accreditation will bring quality in HEIs and it is a crucial responsibility of all of us. NEP propagates multidisciplinary HEIs and ODLs, which will ensure full access. Dr. Vijay Joshi sir's presence and experience gave more meaning to what he said. Your enthusiasm is contagious, sir. You rightly said NEP 2020 is a revolution and we need to gear up for the same. ABC is definitely going to be a game changer in higher education. I would like to appreciate the organizers for inviting such engaging, talented speakers. Great program, really well organized, with plenty of details in each session. Thank you for helping us become more aware of different aspects of NEP 2020. Thank you so much.
So along with Dr. Prabhakar and many others, you have to extend your lunch hours, and we are very sorry for that. But you know, we cannot manage the time. So sorry, because Dr. Prabhakar writes that we have missed our lunch. I have also missed our lunch. Now there was a sumptuous lunch for a thought, you know. Now we can have a lunch. I am also going for my lunch. Thank you very much for giving us a chance to elaborate. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joshi sir. Thank you, Joshi sir.
Namaskar. Namaskar, Kharat sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
We are pleased and delighted to have the presence of Principal Dr. Asha Menon, Madam, at this webinar. We truly appreciate your time of sharing, Madam. Thank you so much. We've had a very fruitful time, as Sir just mentioned. And as we come to the close of this webinar, I invite Dr. Nuruzia Kasi, Madam, IQAC Coordinator of our institution and Head of the Department of Commerce, to propose a formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks as we conclude the day 11 of National Webinar Series on National Education Policy 2020, Prospects and Challenges in Higher Education, a roadmap for transforming higher education, organized by Department of Commerce in association with Internal Quality Assurance Cell. We are privileged to have the constant guidance, encouragement, and support of our esteemed management who have been forefront in the growth and development of the institution. We express our sincere gratitude to President of Marwadi Sammelan, Advocate Shri Sushil Vyasji, Honorable Secretary Shri Suresh Devraji, Convener of BM Ruya Girls College and Trustee of Marwadi Sammelan, Shri Shrikant Dalmiaji, Convener of Sitaram Devra Institute of Management Studies, Shri Vijay Singalji, and other respected members of the management for their continuous motivation and support in all our activities. We are honored to gain valuable insights from our eminent speakers in the fruitful discussion during today's webinar. Our sincere gratitude to Dr. Kharat sir, Professor and Head Computer Engineering Department, MET's Institute of Engineering, Maharashtra, for his valuable expertise. Our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Vijay Joshi sir, Chief Consultant, RUSA, Maharashtra, for his valuable knowledge. The distinguished speakers have enlightened the audience with their extensive knowledge and guidance. We are grateful and feel privileged to get the opportunity to gain immense knowledge and from their expertise. We are grateful to our guiding force and source of inspiration, our principal, Dr. Santosh Kaul Madam, who's the pillar of strength and support in all our activities. Her constant encouragement and motivation inspires us to organize programs of utmost importance for the students, staff, and stakeholders. We are indeed thankful to all the directors, principals, heads, professors, faculty members, students, alumni, and all the participants for their gracious presence on this virtual platform on Google Meet and YouTube Live from all over India. We are thankful to India Yuva Chopal News Network for the media coverage. We would like to thank Srimati Shruti Madam, Associate Professor Psychology, Cultural in Charge, and also the counselor at the College Counseling Cell, Mantrana, for her continued support and motivation in all our programs. I'm thankful to the IQAC members, all teaching and non-teaching staff for their endless efforts and consistent assistance to ensure that every program is conducted successfully. We would like to share with you the title of our Day 12 of our next webinar in the National Webinar Series on National Education Policy 2020 Prospects and Challenges in Higher Education, Leveraging Technology and Media for Educational Reforms, which will be organized by the BCA and BAMM in association with the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, which is scheduled on June 29th, 2021. The eminent resource person will be Dr. Anita Chawre, Madam, Head, Department of Computer Science at SNDT Women's University, Juhu Campus, Mumbai, and she will be talking about NEP 2020, Reimagining the Role of Technology. The second speaker would be Dr. Anupati Yadav, Head, Department of New Media and Course Director of Advertising and Public Relations Course at Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi, and her topic would be Scope of Media Studies in NEP 2020. We thank you all and we look forward to your participation in our future webinar. I now request everyone to stand for the national anthem, and I request Shruti Madam to please play the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे